here on the show, we intend to speak to all the candidates running in the Midlands-North-West constituency. And that in itself is a challenge given the large numbers. Anyway, we soldier on. Remember, 27 candidates running in this contest. We soldier on. This morning, it's the turn of Justin Barrett. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Joe, and the rest of your audience.
And thank you so much for taking the call. Justin, can we clarify, first of all, your status at present? Are you running on a National Party ticket? Is it a Clann Éireann ticket? Or will you appear on the ballot paper as an independent?
No, I will very clearly appear on the ballot paper as a National Party candidate because that's what I'm registered under, and that's the party that I currently lead and the party that the Electoral Commission has acknowledged that I lead. So, no, I will be on the ballot paper as the National Party candidate.
Right, but that will cause, with the electorate, given that only a week ago on this show, James Reynolds declared himself as leader of the National Party. He declared himself as the National Party candidate in this contest. So now, following the statement you've just made, that will cause some confusion, will it not, with the electorate?
It will. It will undoubtedly cause some confusion with the electorate. And I will be on the ballot paper. I'll be at the top of the ballot paper, indeed, being B for Barrett, because it's alphabetical order. I will bear the National Party logo. I will bear the National Party name. He should withdraw his candidacy because I'm the leader of the National Party and I don't endorse.
Well, he says he's the leader.
Candidacy. Oh, yeah, but James, look, people have longed for this, especially, James. Okay, there is a problem, and it is confusing for the electors.
What are you offering to the electorate in return for their endorsement?
Well, I'm going to be realistic when I'm talking to people now, and I'm going to say that there isn't the slightest possibility that I'm going to be elected as a member of the European Parliament on June the 7th, what's got to be counted on the 9th and the 10th. So here's in reality what I offer is the biggest middle finger that you could possibly hold up to the political establishment in Ireland. The name Justin Barrett and its association with a healthy vote, a strong vote, would be the biggest shock that the people of Midlands-North-West could deliver to the political establishment on issues like housing, on issues like immigration, on issues like medical care and the mess that the HSE is in general, on the way they were treated during the COVID crisis, and so on and so forth.
All right, well, let's just focus.
I'm a send a message candidate, and I'm very much I very much embrace the role of being that protest candidate. I am absolutely that way to say we've had enough. We need you people to sit down in cabinet and think this out again, because there are this many people who are willing to vote for somebody that is to say the TDs and ministers in question dislike as much as Justin Barrett. And I would say to the ordinary member of the electorate, ask your local TD, what do they think of me? What do they think of Justin Barrett? And watch their faces twist with disdain. And then how are you going to get that TD or that minister to sit up and listen and acknowledge that you personally are not happy with the way things are run in this country? The best way to do that in Midlands-North-West is a vote for Justin Barrett, because if I get any significant vote at all, it will strike at the very heart of their notion of how things should be.
Okay, and you've made that point very clear. Now, I know you're opposed to what you describe as unopposed immigration, but we have a rule-based system in this country, do we not? It may not be perfect, but we know that you just can't swan in here expecting asylum and refugee status.
Except that you can. In reality, it's yes, the rules are there, and if you want to check the legislation, that you'll find that there is a rules-based system. But the Department of Justice doesn't follow the rules-based system. For example, we had an amnesty for tens of thousands there quite recently. Also, we have the scenario where deportation orders are given but not enforced, almost never enforced. There are thousands of deportation orders, which is your rules-based system. There are thousands of deportation orders issued each year, but only a couple of hundred are actually carried out. So, there's no point in having a rules-based system when the actual authorities in practice ignore the rules. And so, in another sense, what I suppose I'm saying here is, if the actual rules were applied, then we would be having a totally different discussion about immigration.
Right.
But we have open borders in practice, not in law. It's not in law. In law, we have a rules-based system, but in practice, we have open borders. And in practice, nobody who manages to get here will. Their chances of being deported, no matter what they do, including the most appalling of crimes, the chances of them getting deported from this country are almost
all
zero.
Right. Now, it's my job to moderate. Government in response would say they will acknowledge that the system needs to be made more efficient, and they're in the process of doing that. I want to move on. In recent days, we've seen a report published on the abuse that public representatives are being subjected to almost on a daily basis, not only online, but also in the physical space. And we know that private homes have been targeted, private homes of politicians now, as have family members. I take it you're aware of the findings of this report. It's a worrying trend for Irish politics, isn't it?
It is. I can tell you that I didn't need the report to tell me about it either, in the sense that anybody involved in Irish politics on whatever side of the political divide, on whatever question the issue is, will note that since, I previously ran for the European Parliament in 2004, as you may remember, and there was a civility present in that campaign that simply is no longer present. That is regardless of whether your politics is left-wing, right-wing, centrist, whether you're Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, Sinn Féin, or National Party like myself. The personal abuse that is directed towards the candidates in particular, especially online, is really quite extraordinary. And when I say personal, it gets very personal. It's not about,
would you condemn it outright, Justin Barrett? Would you condemn that behaviour outright?
Absolutely. It's like, look, if you oppose somebody politically, then attack them politically. So I think every citizen has the right to approach any politician or anybody who puts themselves in the public square and approach them on a political question, on a matter of public interest, and say, look, I do not agree, or I very strongly do not agree with your political stance. But when it gets personal, and when it starts to involve, in particular, abusive comments about family members, or for that matter, just random comments on physical characteristics of various candidates, it's just a nasty business, and I don't see how it serves the cause of the people who are engaged in it any more than it serves the cause of political dialogue at all, in any shape, fashion, or form. But it goes both sides. And unfortunately, the report seems to have the notion that it only happens to left-wing candidates, or it only happens to Fianna Fáil or Fine Gael, if you want to call them in the centre. Now, to me, they're very much to the left, or drifting left for a couple of decades now. But in any case, it's not just directed at them. It's directed at myself. It's directed at anybody in public life. And
no, because I think Justin Barrett, and I mean this sincerely, there are many listening this morning who will be surprised, but pleasantly surprised, that someone who down through the years would have been noted at times for bordering on the extreme when it came to their political style is now so emphatic and is unequivocally condemning this kind of behaviour.
Well, I don't see it as a moderation of my political position or a moderation of what I believe in or any change in that sense. I just don't believe and have never believed that personalized abuse has a place in political dialogue. By all means, abuse your political opponent on a political level about the political matter at issue.
But don't get personal. That's what you're saying.
And use strong language, and use the strongest language that you feel like using for that matter. But literally don't get personal.
All right. We're almost out of time.
Call it no reason.
All right. We're almost out of time. I see you've called for reform of our criminal justice system, and you're in favour, I see, of the death penalty for certain crimes.
For particularly heinous crimes, yes. And I want to be very clear about that. There's two elements to that particular principle of the National Party. The first is the reform of the criminal justice system. Now, anybody who goes down to the district courts and sees, or for that matter, peruses the court notes in their local newspaper, can see the sentencing for serious crime is just like absurd sometimes, and we have suspended sentences being handed out to people who are engaged in pedophilia or at least the downloading of child pornography and so on and so forth. This has to be tightened up. Anybody guilty of sexual assault or rape of a child, I think the courts should have the power to consider whether the death penalty is appropriate there.
We're out of time, Justin Barrett. Just to remind you, Justin Barrett confirming to us this morning on the programme that he is running as a National Party candidate in the contest, the European election contest, and of course this constituency that we're focusing on is Midlands-North-West, and polling day is June 7th. Justin, thank you so much for being with us today on the JF Show. We will take a break.